Hello, everyone. Today we're joined by Sheriff Chad Bianco. So excited to have you here, man. Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. Glad to be here. Should be a good one.
Yeah, it was so awesome to meet you at the Make California Gold Again event. That was really cool.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we
So,
definitely must.
yeah, we do need to make it gold again. So, I want to start by just hearing your story, how you grew up, what made you you, what made you want to become a sheriff, and then now want to run for governor.
Absolutely. So I grew up in a very, very small mining town in Utah. There was 1,200 people in the town. So completely different environment than Southern California. I grew up the oldest of three boys. My mom and dad were very young. Both of them were young when I was born, high school, and my dad went off to Vietnam. And by the time my mom was 21, she had three kids, and we grew up there in a great home, great grandparents. We had a good life there. I was very blessed to be good in most athletics. I'm a really good golfer. I was a good wrestler, and but baseball was my sport. So baseball is what propelled me really through life, and I ended up playing baseball at the University of Utah. And after that, I ended up moving to California, uh, finding my life here. Talking about baseball, baseball is really what brought me to California because when I was 11, I came to Santa Monica to play in the Little League World Series. And while we were here, we were housed by a foster family, me and one of my friends, and we were really by their kids. They immersed us in everything Santa Monica. They took us to the pier, to movies, to their friends' houses, and we went to a birthday party with them, and it was just an amazing time. And I remember going home and telling my mom I'm moving to California, and they told me, my parents told me I had to wait till I was an adult, and but from that point on, I knew eventually I was going to move to California. And when the time came, I did, and I came here for a great life. I end up, buying a home, finding a job, marrying a great woman, and we raised our kids here. And the rest is kind of history. I didn't come here for law enforcement. I came here just because it was California. I worked some various jobs, construction jobs. I worked in a Ford auto repair dealership, and then eventually I had a friend that also worked in the dealership with me, and he was putting himself through a sheriff's academy, and we were talking about it all the time. He was doing it part time, and I just decided to do it full time. And back in the 90s, for if you're in law enforcement, back in the 90s, early 90s, there was they didn't hire you unless you had already been to an academy. They didn't hire you and put you through it. So I ended up putting myself through the academy. I graduated at the top of my class. I was hired by the Riverside County Sheriff, and then here we go. I've had a great career here. I've been here for 32 years, or I'm in my 32nd year, and I've been the sheriff since the November election of 2018. Um, Love everything I have here. I've got four kids, four adult kids. They're my youngest is 28, my oldest is 35, four grandkids, and my wife and I live in county area of Riverside. We enjoy our property, our dogs, our horses, and the life we have out here. And everything is good except for the fact that California is falling apart and everyone's leaving. Our friends have left. Our friends' kids are leaving or have left. My parents have left. My wife's family, her entire family is gone. They've gone to another state. I have one son that's in another state, and he's trying to convince his brothers and his sister to go with him, and we're trying to do everything we can to keep him here. But the life that he is able to have somewhere else is so much better than California. I mean, it's not even comparable. He makes less than my kids here, and he has far more. He's got a beautiful home, kind of nicer than what I have here, on a lot of property, and it's just a fantastic life that they're living there. The cost of living is so much lower, and it's a beautiful place to live. So when I sit here looking at California, we have the California environment, And that's all fantastic. And I think that's what truly keeps us here. But we're, I mean, we're putting ourselves through torture just to say we live in California. And it's for my other kids that dream that I had to come to California for that California dream. For millions and millions of Californians, including my kids now, that dream's not attainable anymore, and it's too far out of reach. And so they're having to look at everything that's failing them, which is the economy, gas, cost of living, the unaffordability of housing. They're forced to rent. They don't want to. They want to own. They just can't. And a big thing now is I've got grandkids. They've got kids, and our school systems are an absolute disaster. And there's nothing promising for today's California. It's just getting worse and worse. And that leads me into everything that I'm doing with public safety. As the sheriff for, in my 7th year now, it's a constant battle against the lawmakers in Sacramento that they're harming my ability to protect my residents. I want to do everything I possibly can to keep Riverside County safe, but it's the lawmakers that are making that an impossibility. I've repeated this over and over and over again. Our current lawmakers in California, including our governor, including our attorney general, have a love affair with criminals. There is a very unhealthy relationship between criminals and them. And they are making it impossible for cops to do their jobs. They're making it impossible for us to arrest people who are victimizing people. And then once they go to jail, I mean, it's a rotating door to get in and out. And it's almost impossible to send them to prison.
Yeah, it's definitely getting insane. You brought up so many good points. I mean, first of all, I wrestled too. I think that's awesome. I'm wondering what position you played in baseball, but yeah, I feel like I grew up in the 90s and 2000s, like I'd say the golden age of California. We didn't have cell phones and it was affordable. My parents were able to buy a house. I'm one of 4 siblings, and it was just an incredible time. And so many Californians would love to see it get back to being an amazing state that's,
Yeah.
affordable and safe. But why do you think these Sacramento politicians, my words, like Scott Wiener is a good example to me of someone who doesn't represent the people. What do you think their motivation is in letting criminals out in the streets, or raising the gas taxes and raising the prices for permits and for building a house, or for all these things, making everyone's life more miserable in California?
I think so. Some of there's multiple answers to that, because I think some of it is completely on purpose. Some of it is an unintended consequence. And you have to really dive into each of those separately to figure out what it is. But in the end, you are 100%. Scott Wiener, in my opinion, is the absolute worst legislator we have, or if not the worst, he's tied with maybe about 10 other people. He absolutely does not represent California. He is exactly what a politician, a representative in government of the people, is not supposed to be. He is a personal political activist that could not care less about any other person in California other than himself and his own personal beliefs and his own personal agenda. And there are a couple dozen of those people in Sacramento, and those are the people that are running the state. The governor is one of them. The attorney general is another one. And the attorney general's wife is another one who is very powerful Democrat in our government. And they are not Democrats. They are Democrat by name, but they are absolute socialists. And at points when you listen to them, they admit it. They admit that that's what they believe, and they admit that that's their agenda. And so then you come back to the law enforcement part. Law enforcement, the demonization of law enforcement is 100% about socialism. And I'll explain to you why. Whether you like the United States or not, we are the best government in the world. We may not be perfect, but we are by far the most or the best country and government in the world. And
I
that's
agree.
based on freedoms. And it has nothing to do with the government having power. It's the government having less power. People have the power. And there is a big movement towards socialism. And with law enforcement, you can't have independent law enforcement and eventually get to socialism. You have to have a state-run law enforcement. You have to have a law enforcement that answers to a politician. If you have, like me, and this was very much highlighted in 2020 when I took my stance against the governor and COVID, saying that we were not going to enforce COVID restrictions and rules, and it was a government overreach and a violation of constitutional freedoms that are guaranteed to all of us. And because of that negativity towards me and that push to get me out of office began. But a couple of years before that, it really began with Obama and the push to demonize law enforcement. If you demonize law enforcement and convince the public that their law enforcement is no longer effective, then the state can come in with their own law enforcement and say that they're going to make everything better and take over and say they're going to solve crime. And a perfect example of this is what Newsom did in Sacramento or in San Francisco just a little while ago. If you go back in history, Newsom is the beginning of the end of San Francisco. His rule there and his politics started and have been continued to the detriment of San Francisco. And he brings the CHP in, which is his state police, in one weekend to clean up the city and make homeless go away, make them clean up the city and make it all presentable for somebody, and then shows how easy it is. Well, you did this in the first place. You don't get to be the hero and bring law enforcement in to take care of it. That is an example, though, of saying that local law enforcement can't do it. I have to be the big hero government leader and send my own law enforcement in to do it. When you get rid of all that local law enforcement, you have one state-run law enforcement agency. Now you can implement socialism. That's why sheriffs in our state who are elected are absolutely hated by our legislature, our attorney general, and our governor, because we are elected by the people and we don't answer to them. They've tried to change that. We are in the Constitution, that we're elected constitutional officer, and local politicians are not local, state politicians are trying to make it to where sheriffs are appointed instead of elected. And the danger of that, nothing against my friends that are police chiefs, but that just makes you a political appointee that can be fired when you don't do the will of the political appointee or the pointer. And that's why if you let everybody out of prison, if you don't let anybody go to jail, then the criminals just keep running amok. We have to realize there's good in this world and there's evil. And sometimes we just have to keep the evil people away from the good. If we're not, they're just going to be emboldened to do more evil and victimize more of us. That's what's happening now, is crime is just increasing and increasing and increasing every year. And they're changing now. They're realizing we did a good job of stopping it and saying it's not our fault. But they was going down this path of saying law enforcement's not helping us. It's law enforcement's fault that there's homeless. It's law enforcement's fault that these criminal gangs are doing all these robberies and smash and grabs, and we're not arresting them. And then we arrest them and just let them go. And they tried to make the people believe, the voters believe, that it was us doing it. And the reality is it was them, and it was just not being reported. But we've been able to get that message out to people. The telltale is the passing of Prop 36 last year, where the entire state, every county in the state voted. Nearly 70% of every county voted to change directions on public safety from what the politicians right now are doing. So I think we're in a pretty good spot that way, but it truly is their way of creating chaos so they can also come with a solution. And I hope that the people watching this aren't saying, I'm a conspiracy theorist and everything else. This is actually in a playbook. This is in the Marxist playbook of how you defeat America and how you defeat freedom. This is what they've said to do. You lie to them constantly. You tell a lie until people believe it's the truth. You affect their law enforcement. You make them fight between classes of wealth, classes of race, and eventually that's how Marxism takes over and eventually leads to socialism and communism. But it's a playbook. It's written in a book on how to do it, and we're not reading the book. They read the book, but we're not reading the book to see what it is they're doing. And if we would, you'd just see that this is all a game to them. And unfortunately, they're winning. But I think that pendulum's coming back. That we're going to take back control.
Yeah, that sounded really accurate from the Marxist readings I've read, and Orwell, Rules for Radicals. That does seem right out of the playbook. But I feel this giant momentum, even in California. I'm in the Bay Area where it's supposed to be the craziest. Not San Francisco, but San Jose, Santa Cruz.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone I meet wants to push back towards reality and truth and goodness.
Yeah.
Having police, locking up criminals, being safe, paying less for gas, not having homeless people everywhere, not feeling scared to let their kids, I don't know, walk or bike to the park by themselves or to school. And yeah, I'd just love to hear your thoughts on maybe some ways California could, I guess, become safer with you as governor, and we could
Yeah.
reduce crime and homelessness and gas prices. Look, I wouldn't fully understand it well enough myself, but the
It's
governor
actually
clearly has
you
a lot of
kind of.
power.
I think they do, and I think you would understand it because I think that for most of us, we look at the governor. Oh my gosh, you're running the government of the state and everything else, and we think that it has to be this certain type of person, and you've got to be so smart, and you've got to know all these things. The reality is, look at who we have there. I mean, you don't have to be
Yeah.
smart. You don't have to be. You don't have to care about other people. You don't even have to care about the state. We've learned recently that our government is actually failing us because they're following their own agenda, which is based on special interests, and it no longer matters what the majority of California or what the rest of California cares about because it's special interests that are being catered to, and the special interests don't concern us. I mean, the special interests just by design are tiny little aspects of anything. And the way government is supposed to work, special interests are not supposed to be ruling anything. They're supposed to be heard while for basic terms, and I'll be a little bit rude here, but it's an absolute fact of where we are in government. The adults are no longer at the table. And how government is supposed to work is adults are supposed to be at the table, and then they gather information from everywhere around them, including the activists. I mean, they aren't supposed to control anything because they're a super, super, super minority, but you have to listen to what they have to say. And then you take every bit of the information into account, and then you make an adult decision on what's best for the entire state of California. But we have lost that. And now the entire state of California, the adults in the room are gone, and the only people at the table are special interests, and they're being appeased so they don't yell louder. And that's why we're seeing all of these bad things that are happening. And the how we get through it is we have to start being honest. And I think that that's where Californians are right now, and how you described it, that Californians are actually looking for someone and begging to have someone in a leadership position that they can actually trust, that they can believe is telling them the truth, and that they believe is working for their best interests, not for someone else's and not for their own political interests. That's what I think is my appeal in this race, and what has been for the last several years is the majority of people believe and trust in law enforcement. And who better to believe and trust than the leader of law enforcement? And because of what I did during COVID and fighting against the government for the last 5 years, people have come to realize that I may be vocal. They may not like what I have to say all the time, but they know I'm telling them the truth. They know they may not like it, but they need to hear it. And I think that's where we're at. And that's why my appeal is greater. So for instance, homelessness. We know it's a problem. Homeless has been a problem since 2014. And if we're truly honest, the idea of what we're looking at and talking homeless is the people on the street that are living there, and all of the issues they're having. But all throughout history, we used to call them hobos, and the hobos they were just vagabonds that didn't want any restrictions. They just traveled around. They hopped on trains to get transportation, and they just traveled and lived and survived how they felt they wanted to survive, without rules and sometimes laws or whatever it was, but they just did their own thing, and it was all okay. They didn't harm people. They didn't they weren't stealing from people. They weren't hanging out begging for money. That wasn't how it was. That's a recent thing. And the homeless, what we describe now, if I tell you homeless, the picture you get in your head is the guy on the street corner that's completely whacked out of his brain, with the sores all over and no shoes, and his feet are all bloody, and he's yelling at the sun and just speaking gibberish and screaming and yelling, and major mental disorders. That's what we're calling homeless. We're never going to fix it if we keep calling it homeless, because they're not homeless. They absolutely, every single one of them, had a home that they were kicked out of, or that they lost because of their drug-induced and alcohol-induced psychosis. Their drugs that caused them to steal from family members and to abuse family members got them kicked out of the house, or their inability to pay rent because they were buying drugs all day. They lost their house or their apartment, whatever the case may be, and then they find themselves on the street. The reality of that, from a law enforcement perspective, is the vast majority, well into the 90 percentiles, want to be there, and they absolutely refuse help. They don't want help. They don't think they need help. They're perfectly fine. Where we are in our state is we can't force help onto anyone. They have to want the help in order to receive the help. So when we stop calling this homeless and stop acting like we need to build them tiny homes, and we buy hotels and call them homeless shelters, all of these places, not all, the majority of them are doing nothing. They're just taking taxpayer dollars and they're enriching themselves off it, while they may help one or two per year and then call it a success when they took a $20 million grant from the state, and they're super wealthy now, but they're not helping anybody that's drug-induced or alcohol-induced psychosis. And so when we stop with the homelessness and call it what it is, and we stop giving them money, we stop enabling them the drugs and the alcohol that they have, and the drug paraphernalia and the places to do their drugs, and we actually force them into a rehab center to make them sober so they can actually make a legitimate, real decision about their future and get help, then we'll fix it. Then we'll be able to get them off the street and get them back to productive members of society. That is what Prop 36 was supposed to do. But Prop 36, the left knows that that's the answer, and that is why they're refusing to fund it. It actually takes funding for the mental health treatment and the drug treatment. And that's what we want to do, is put these people in the drug treatment and the mental health treatment so we can get them back to be productive. And the state is not going to fund it. So there's no money there. There's not going to be any place to send these people. They're going to say that it failed without telling you that it failed because of them. And then we'll go back to just the money laundering schemes of taxpayer money. So I will fix homeless, and I will fix it relatively quickly, because that big, huge money stream to the homeless industrial complex is going to end. They will go to jail if they are using drugs, and then their option will be, do you want to go to rehab or do you want to stay in jail? And we all hope that they take rehab. Then we will put them in that rehab process and we'll get them sober and we'll get them fixed. And we will make this better. It was better before 2014. Prop 47 made our homeless increase. If you put it on a graph, it looks just like this. It's 2014 to 2026. That's the amount of homeless. And it's all because of drugs and alcohol and the enabling that we have done to our people that we call homeless. We just have to be honest about it, and we just have to make it right. The crime here is that we allow those people to lay on the street and rot in their skins, and we aren't doing anything about it. That should be the crime. We should actually be trying to help these people, and giving other people money isn't the answer.
That was a phenomenal answer. Yeah, it is a tragedy. It does seem like we're just enabling it, and it's obviously getting worse and worse because of it. And I don't believe it's loving to just enable behavior like that or let someone rot on the street in their crazy psychosis state. It's really sad to see and scary as well.
Yeah.
And on that topic of enabling not always being loving, I'm curious your thoughts on this whole idea, basically that there's anything other than boys and girls or men and women. We're seeing kids, be mutilated, be sterilized for life, people having to lie to kids. We're seeing men dominate women's sports and taking their opportunities, going in their locker rooms or dressing rooms and Planet Fitness, in the YMCA, and it just seems like these things are getting out of hand. It's like the most basic, beautiful truth of life is the difference between men and women. And I just think it's so sad to hurt the most innocent amongst us, in children, and just to see these girls work their whole lives for something and to have it taken from them. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, it's actually insanity. It is absolute insanity. The people that are doing it and pushing it are completely insane. And those of us that are going along with it are victims of this society that over years we have been forced to believe and forced to act like feelings are the ruling center of the universe, and that you can't hurt someone's feelings, and that everyone's a winner, and that everyone gets a trophy, and everyone's a victim. If you're a criminal, it's because you were spanked when you were a child. Or if you molest someone, it's only because you were molested as a child. And the reality is none of that is true. Being poor doesn't make you a crime. Being molested doesn't make you a child molester. None of that is true. It's what you choose to do as you get older or as you progress. And that's what we're not being honest with. That's what everyone is not. We're not equal. We were born equal, but our effort makes us not equal. So all of those things that we've been almost like beat down to just not, you can't say anything, you can't hurt anybody's feelings, you don't want to be called a racist, you don't want to be called homophobic, you don't want to be called any of these names. So as good people, we just keep our mouth shut, we turn the other cheek, and we just move on. But we've gotten to the point where now it's affecting us. And this insanity that we are seeing, where there is a grown adult that believes that it's okay for a child to try and change their gender and take drugs to alter their body, that should be a crime. And they're making it to where it's legal so they can't be arrested for doing it. And it's we all should be embarrassed to even really to be humans, because this is not how we are supposed to be living. This isn't even civilized. It's not civilized to mutilate a child and try and change their gender. There is only two genders. This is a scientific, biological fact. There is only male and female. I mean, I don't know even why we're even discussing anything else. And we've gotten to this point where we allow it to happen, and then it just progresses, and you enable something, and it gets worse and worse and worse. And for an adult to believe that it's okay for a boy to go into a girl's locker room naked. We are in a sad place that adults are having this discussion and they are not rationally coming to the right conclusion. It's just a sad place. Leaders have to be put in these positions to do the right thing, because everyone we have in a leadership position right now, pretty much in California, needs to be replaced because they are failing us and they're failing our kids. They're failing our children in our education system. They're failing our girls in girls sports. They're failing our women, our grown women, that they can't even be safe in their own restroom in a public restroom because a man can walk in there. We've gotten to the point.
The women's prisons is insane too.
Yes. How can you, if you're going to be a man in prison, do you want to be in the men's prison, or would you like to go be housed with 1,000 women? I mean, it makes a little bit of sense. Hey, I'm deciding I'm a woman, so you're going to have to put me in that prison full of women. And then all of a sudden, inmates started getting pregnant. Gee, go figure. How did they think that was going to work out? There's no more reason and common sense being applied to these decisions that government officials are making. And they're not thinking about unintended consequences or even intended consequences. It's just spur of the moment, feel good, make somebody happy because we don't want to hurt their feelings, and move on. Now we find ourselves in this position that we don't know the difference between a man and a woman, or no one can say what it is, or half of us can't say what a man and a woman is. Then this entire aspect that we're having to deal with, that we're being inundated in media about boys beating girls in girls sports is just asinine to me. I don't understand. There is no reason. There's no logical or reasoning ability that went into that thought process to say that that's a good idea.
Yeah, it's the worst idea of our time. I think it's the greatest evil of my lifetime, at least in my opinion.
It is. And earlier you mentioned the governor has power. The governor can make that go away. The governor can stop all of that. And he's choosing not to because it's his agenda, it's his direction that the legislature is following. So they're making all the rules. They're setting the direction and the parameters of what Newsom has laid down as his agenda. He wants this. The governor wants this.
Did you hear him? He on Charlie Kirk, or interviewing Charlie Kirk, I believe Newsom himself said it's deeply unfair.
Yeah,
kind of
because he's trying to appeal. He doesn't care about California anymore. He's trying to appeal to the country because he wants to run for president. So he has to have that statement in the rest of the country. We all in California know exactly who he is, but the rest of the country doesn't. So he has to remake himself so he can kind of appeal to anyone who's even close to being moderate that, oh, maybe I'll like that guy. At least he said the right thing. He doesn't agree either. And he's blaming other people when in reality, he could stop it in a second. All he has to do is speak it and he can stop it. And then sign his little name on a piece of paper, and then he can make it official and permanent. He chooses not to. We absolutely need a governor that's going to do that. Our education system is in a state of emergency. On day one, I will declare that a state of emergency. The rights of our women and our girls is under attack, and I will declare that. And through executive order, we will stop all of this madness. There will no longer be boys and girls sports. Your teenage, prepubescent girls will not have to worry about a man walking into their locker room, stripping down naked and showering with them. They won't have to worry about getting injured playing against boys in sports or working as hard as they possibly can and then getting beat out by a bunch of guys, because biologically we know women are weaker than men for the most part. Not to say and that's okay to me. That's okay with me. I know that even though my wife and I are roughly the same height, I'm much, much stronger than her. That's by design. I'm the protector, I'm the provider. That's what it was designed. In all species, I can't say all because a black widow came to mind, but most species, the male is dominant. The male is the larger, and it's by design. That's how the species keeps growing. And
That's
humans
right.
are kind of no different. And we know through science that men are just inherently stronger than women. So why would we want a girl to have to compete against a boy? It's impossible for her to win. And not all of them, because it doesn't work that way. There are some of these boys acting like girls that are getting beat by girls. And I guess that's okay. I mean, good for the girls, for they're just better at their sport. That just means the man was weaker, but you're not comparing apples to oranges when you say it's not the ultimate elite. I'll give you a perfect example. Not that I agree with any of this, but Caitlyn Jenner, who was the ultimate male athlete, he was the elite athlete. He is absolutely opposed to males being in women's sports because he knows there is no woman that could ever compete with him in his elite status. And that's how it should be. That's what we should be caring about. I can't even believe that we're making this a conversation because it's common sense. Women fought for decades to have equal rights in public, to have equal rights in school, to have equal opportunities in school, and especially in athletics. And now, in a matter of a couple of years, it's all being erased by a special interest agenda that is just meant to divide us. And it's working, unfortunately. And we need to take that special interest agenda away and care more about the 99%. I hear it all the time. I get criticized because someone will say, why are you even talking about that? It's no big deal. It's only 1% of the population. And really, I think it's less than 1% of the population. That's a great way to look at it if you're blind and you don't want to look at it the real way. But it's affecting 99%. You're just saying that it's less than 1% that is trans, but it's affecting 99% of the girls who are not, 100% of the girls who are not. So it's not this small thing. It's all of these girls that are being pushed into submission, and they're being groomed right now. Our kids are being groomed for this to be normal. It's normal for a man to walk into your locker room. It's normal it's okay if you're 10 years old and a 16-year-old boy comes naked into your locker room and wants to shower with you. We're making that grooming, we're making that acceptable to where as they grow up, what else is going to be acceptable? Domestic violence? We're making it to where it's okay that men beat you in sports and whether boxing, whatever the case may be. We're making girls believe that boys can now dominate them. And then is that going to carry into 10 years, 15 years down the road that law enforcement is just going to be inundated with domestic violence, with women getting beat up all the time and not reporting it because that was a fact of life? That's how they were groomed to believe, is you just keep your mouth shut. You have Riley Gaines, who really started this standing up for girls movement. And she was told by her coaches and by her school administrators that you shut your mouth, or not only are you going to lose your scholarship, but you're not going to get a job when you leave here. That's a pretty good incentive to just sit and take it and be quiet and learn to be groomed and molded into something that you shouldn't be. And that's what we're doing. That's what we're allowing to happen. We need to start having this bigger picture argument of what this really is instead of the isolated incidents. Like this girl in Jurupa Valley that it's all over California now, because where I'm from, this high jumper that's beating these girls. And the media keeps trying to make it about him and about poor him. They're not talking to the rest of the girls. They're not talking about the girls that didn't even make the team because one got lowered because the boy had to be on the team. And they're trying to make everybody feel sorry for him at the expense of all of the rest of these girls. No one's talked about the girls in that school that are afraid to go to the bathroom, that are afraid to undress in the locker room for sports practice after, because when's he going to walk in? We need to start having these real conversations. And I'm telling you, we won't have to if you elect a real leader as your governor, because we won't allow this to happen. This is basic common sense.
It's definitely basic common sense. It's just so insane that we've gotten here. The
Yeah,
Californians are definitely fed up with it. I think it's a really big part of the reason Trump won the election. Myself, I think that swung the swing states because normal people just know that there's male and female, and it's just so despicable that we're putting up with this as, human adults that have a duty to protect women and protect children, and we're just letting guys take girls' sports and children be harmed. And we
yeah.
need, like you're saying, more leaders with courage. Courage is the ultimate value. Without it, there's no other value. And I would just really love to see more leaders step up. Lots of people be replaced in the government, like you said earlier. I got a question. You were saying earlier how there's a lot of special interest,
Mhm.
I guess, playing in our politics. Are you
Yes.
saying that if you were governor, you wouldn't take special interest money? Is that what we're saying, or
Yeah, I have a
how do you
feeling
feel
that
about that?
it's going to be very difficult for me raising the it could go both ways. If people actually take a big look at it and look to see, what's going to happen and what are the possibilities, and me compared to everybody else, I mean, you just have to believe it. I mean, you can ask my kids, you can ask my wife, you can ask anybody that's known me my entire life, but my integrity is everything to me. And I'm not for sale. Money doesn't, I don't care how much money you offer me. Money means absolutely nothing to me. I know so many people that are extremely wealthy that are absolutely miserable in their lives. Money does not buy happiness. It's not something that you can influence me with, whether it's political money or whether it's personal money. As long as my bills are paid, I'm good. I'm at the end of the day, my wife and I, we know we're going to die broke, and we're not working to give our kids money in an inheritance. So they can earn it themselves just like we did, and we're going to be comfortable for the rest of our lives, and then we're moving on. And that's what special interest is now. It's the greed in government. It's, what are you promising me? Is it election money? Is it money on the side? Is it money to my nonprofit that I can take a salary from? That's where government is. That's what's happening in our government right now. Our money, our taxpayer money, is being laundered to special interests that come back to these politicians in one way or the other, whether it's through trips, whether it's through cash, whether it's through homes or the availability of those types of things. That is a fact that is happening. That's not just me saying it. Everyone knows that that's happening. These special interests are going to be absolutely opposed to me being governor, because they're going to lose their control. They're going to be put back in a place where they belong, which is the outskirts that just help us make a uniformed decision when we're coming to decision making time. Activists aren't supposed to ever be in charge of anything. Never. They truly aren't. That's a specialty at the expense of everybody else. That's what I stand against. So I I don't really know. There's going to be a lot of people. So, for instance, big business is, some could say that's a special interest. I believe business is going to want me. Big businesses are going to give money. Small businesses are going to give money to my campaign, because the government is destroying their business. The government is over-regulating and taxing them to death, and they can't survive in California. That's why they're going other places. So business isn't supporting Democrats anymore because their livelihood is being destroyed. So they're going to want something different. They're going to want someone that's going to remove the regulations from every aspect of society. The regulations that drive our gas prices double the rest of the country. Those will be removed on day one. With me as a governor, just shy of $2 will be taken off gas immediately, absolutely immediately, because they're all
That sounds
regulated
incredible.
fees. Regulated fees is what's making it be so high. So day one, I sign my name on a piece of paper, and those regulations and those fees are gone. Gas gets lowered by $1.80 to $2 a gallon. Then we remove the regulations that's preventing the oil drilling in California. Dirty little secret: we have more oil in California than Texas does, It's just the special interests are preventing it from being drilled and pumped. So we drill our own oil instead of importing 80% of the oil into the state. We absolutely drill to 100%, and we get 100% of our California oil comes from California, and we can probably even sell it to other places. And then that way we guarantee that our gas price is the cheapest in the entire country. I mean, why do we just want to limit it at $2 off? Let's make it the
Yeah.
cheapest in the country, because Texas is the cheapest in the country because they pump it and they refine it right there. So Texans enjoy $2.40 a gallon gas. So why can't California pump it all right here, refine it right here, and we can have the same thing?
Yeah, that sounds like a dream come true. I'd love to see you do something like that. You said integrity is everything to you. So I want to ask you about, there was an arrest made at a Trump rally in Coachella or something, I believe. This whole media narrative about a third assassination attempt, allegedly, or something like that. And I just wanted to hear from your point of view, what's the deal with all that? Because I know a lot of people have been asking questions about it.
Yeah, it's a great question, and we're back to the point now where we don't even know what the truth is, and then you hear the truth right in your face, and you don't want to believe it because a meme on social media told you something different, or somebody that you know told you something different. And this is one of those instances. Especially, it's very ironic coming from the right, because the right is talking about fake news for the last 4 years, really 8 years. We've been talking about fake news, and you can't believe anything that you see or hear or anything like that. And now we're victims of it, or we were played along those same lines because, oh my gosh, it came from a Republican, so it must be true. And so the reality of that is, there was someone that came to a Trump rally with, I mean, he had a piece of paper that said how to get there and everything else, and big bold letters across the top, no weapons allowed. We're in California where it's illegal to have certain guns, especially in your car. And then we're going to a Trump rally where he's been 2 attempts on his life in the prior couple of months. And we are in charge. My deputies are charged with protecting the president at this rally. The entire nation's media blasted local law enforcement in Florida and in,
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania,
Well, yeah.
because of the assassination attempt, saying it's local law enforcement's fault. Yes, so the Secret Service a little bit, but where were the cops? How did this happen? They're blasting them. So coming here, and they told us he was coming here, and they gave us 4 days notice. I said, there is nothing happening to him here. There is nobody getting in that perimeter. There is no one going to kill him or assassinate him while he is in Riverside County. And we had a very robust security force to make sure that that didn't happen. And so we have a person that comes in to this, and he was arrested with the guns. What everybody has to realize now, and this is where you got to believe or you don't, and you just brush me off and say I'm lying. The beauty of me is I'm a cop, and if I'm lying, the attorney general, who absolutely hates me in California, he can remove me from office. And that's one of those things. Dishonesty is a disqualifier for law enforcement. So proven dishonesty is a disqualifier for law enforcement. The attorney general can remove me if I'm lying. Everyone knows I'm not lying. Everyone knows I'm telling the truth. So in this aspect, this was all caused by the media. The media immediately began reporting. It started out by saying that afternoon was there a third assassination attempt? Everybody started repeating, was there a third assassination attempt? And then by probably around 11 o'clock at night, it was no longer wasn't there. It was just being removed from everyone's headlines. And then it just said the third assassination attempt with a question mark. And it became this third assassination attempt, to where the media was just in a frenzy trying to get a hold of us, trying to figure out what happened, what it is, and everything else, to where the next day, and in something like this, we arrest people with guns all the time. We don't do press conferences. Of course, the president was involved in everything else, but the reason why we had a press conference is because the media was completely out of control, talking about an assassination attempt. The president wasn't even there. It would have been impossible for me to even say there was an assassination attempt because he wasn't there. There can't be an attempt on his life without him being there. So it was just a big mess. So we
So
have a press conference.
you're not claiming that, just to be really clear.
I'm not claiming that. I can't claim that. If we thought it was an assassination attempt, I would have arrested him for an assassination attempt, or my deputies would have. I mean, that didn't happen. We arrested him for what we could arrest him for, and it was weapons violations and vehicle violations. I mean, but this is what happened. This is what we know. So he comes up to the inner perimeter of a Trump rally, right where Secret Service is going through medical detectors and searching cars and bomb sniffing. We have our bomb sniffing dogs. We're searching for all of that stuff. The final before you leave your car and walk into the event. And this guy pulls up and says, "I have guns in the car." So obviously we're not letting him go in. And so now a deputy comes to talk to him, another deputy, and that deputy sees that he has fake license plates on the car. They're absolute fake license plates. As he starts talking to him and starts asking for ID, he sees multiple IDs coming out. Passports, driver's license in different states, and everything else. So now he knows there's guns in the car. He knows there's an unregistered vehicle with fake license plates and multiple guns and multiple boxes of ammunition with this guy at the inner perimeter of a Trump rally. So we arrest him for all the weapons, the car, and we take him to jail. It is the responsibility and the job of Secret Service and FBI to conduct any type of investigation about Trump. Not mine. We would not do that. That's their role. That's their job. And at that time, they chose not to, which that's their prerogative. They chose not to. So we took him to jail. We booked him into jail for the weapons violations and the unregistered car with fake plates. And we eventually, California, it's a misdemeanor. It's a citation. So he was given a citation and he was released. And then he goes home and he's an influencer. He doesn't work. He's an influencer that makes his money off people giving him money from clicks or his multiple GoFundMe accounts. And so his girlfriend start attacking me that how horrible we are because we're anti-gun and anti-Second Amendment, and then we're ruining his life because we're saying there's an assassination attempt, which I never did. That was the media saying all of this. Then during that press conference, the media asked me if we thwarted an assassination attempt, and I laid it out just like I laid it out to you. I said, this is what we knew at the time. My deputy knew at the time that he had someone with multiple guns and ammunition at an inner perimeter with multiple IDs and different names from different countries, driver's licenses from different states in a different name, different last name, and he arrested him for it with fake license plates on an unregistered vehicle. And at the time, he may have believed that he might have prevented an assassination attempt because we didn't get that far. He didn't make it in. There never could be an attempt. And I've even mentioned in that press conference, it's like everybody's fixated on Trump and all of this. It's like in the law enforcement world, we don't fixate on anything. It could be anything. He says he loves Trump and he's a Trump supporter. Maybe he was coming to kill me. Maybe he was coming to shoot somebody else or attack somebody else or just the crowd, make a statement. Maybe he was just doing it on purpose to see if he could smuggle guns into this arena. We will never know because he's the only one that knows. And he's spreading all of these lies saying that I said he attempted to assassinate the president, that I'm harassing him. It's all made up. He's making all of this up. I'm not saying anything. I mean, we just keep dealing with his lawsuits and the crazy things he says on social media and just keep recording them and adding them to the lawsuit for the defense because it's frivolous. And in the end, we know what he came here with. We know what we arrested him for. And then we let him go. And now he has to go through the legal process to figure out his criminal case for the guns and the registration stuff. But this is all him spreading this information about assassination attempt. I never said it.
Do you guys plan on releasing the body cam footage of that incident just because it's become such a big deal and your integrity has been questioned?
Sure, probably. But where's my integrity? I mean, why is my integrity questioned? He broke the law here in California. Because you admit it, because you walk up to a cop and say, "Hey, I just murdered that guy over there." That doesn't mean you're free to go because you came up and admitted that you're breaking the law. He showed up and he said, "I have guns in the car." And so we stopped him from going in and then tried to figure out why he had guns in the car. Then they're illegal guns in an illegally unregistered vehicle with illegal license plates, fake license plates, and all the IDs that he had. So we took him away. We weren't going to let him in. I mean, what if I let him in and something did happen? Then what were you going to be saying to me? Talking about my integrity, about letting someone assassinate anyone or bring guns into a Trump rally. I mean, if we let him in, then he would have been jumping up and down saying that I'm part of the left wing trying to assassinate Trump because I just let people walk in with guns. This whole thing is asinine. It's absolutely asinine because he came here and broke the law and we arrested him for it. End of story. He's making it into something that it's not. I said, did we believe we probably could have done that? Of course we did. Because any rational person could look at what my deputy came up against, what he found at a Trump rally and say, holy crap, maybe I did prevent something. And that's what I said. That's it. This whole integrity thing, this is his way and the other side's way. Here's another aspect of this, that this is really him and it's personal now and it's an agenda. And I think originally, personal opinion, this is not a legal opinion or anything else. Personal opinion is completely staged and he had something, he wanted to be caught because he filed a lawsuit. This happened on a weekend, on a holiday Monday. Tuesday morning, he filed a 20, 30, 40 page legal document about how his Second Amendment was violated. Where did he find a lawyer on a weekend that the lawyer worked on the weekend to draft all of this and have it in court at 8 o'clock in the morning? It was already prepared. This was a staged event, in my opinion. And it took a life of its own because the media kind of ran with it because it was a Trump rally. And he'd already been attempted assassination twice. And so it took on a life of its own and it got bigger than what he imagined and out of control. And here we are today. But it certainly, I mean, anyone that's saying it's my integrity is in question, really personal from me to them, you're a fool because you need to look at the other side and see where the integrity issue is. My story has stayed the same the entire time. My deputy's story has stayed the same the entire time. And he's all mad that, he's stuck on this whole thing about he told us that there were guns in the car. Well, good. 99% of the criminals that we arrest give us that information. We don't have to find it out later. That's how investigating crime works. We get people to confess to things. So somehow how all of these super pro anti-government Second Amendment, type of people are saying that I'm anti-Second Amendment because I arrested him for guns. It's against the law in California. And it's not my problem that he wants to claim ignorance to that law. So question my integrity all you want, but you're questioning the wrong person. Mine's completely intact. We did everything right and we arrested him, let him go. It was a misdemeanor, gave him a cite and he can figure it out in court. But I'm doing nothing to him. I mean, the guy followed me around Sacramento like a lunatic, him and his girlfriend trying to film me. And it's crazy. It's a social media frenzy because they need clicks on their social media so they can earn a living because there's no other job. I know he claims that he's an editor and a movie maker and all of those things, but he's doing this for fame.
Well, thank you for explaining that. That was definitely a lot of new information for me, and I appreciate it. And completely separate from that, but a thing you were mentioning there was Second Amendment. As a Californian myself, I've always felt like we have it really bad in terms of our Second Amendment rights. So I'm curious how, as governor, how you would deal with that.
Yeah, we're going to change this entire argument about guns. Guns are not the problem. Guns have never been the problem. People are the problem. I say this all the time. I carry a gun on my hip and there's been one on my hip every single day for the last 32 years, and that gun has never hurt me, and it never will hurt me. It's an inanimate object. It's basically a tool. And this fear mongering of our government, beginning from our founding fathers, that said that the right for us to bear arms isn't for personal protection. It's for protection against the government, and it's for protection when the government comes in to try and take you over. You have a means of fighting back and protecting yourself. God told us we have the right to self-protection. We have a right to defend our lives. That's a God-given right. That's an inalienable right that was mentioned in the Constitution. And then guns were just added to that you were able to have guns for your protection and security and everything else. So this notion that we have to outlaw guns and get rid of guns is all about big government. It's about so government can come in and take control. The other states that have a very, I hate using this word, but are very liberal in their issuance of CCWs, of carry permits, and some of them are that just say, yeah, you can just carry. It's legal here. You can do whatever you want. They don't have the high crime rates that we have here, because criminals know that person they be victimizing and robbing, pretty good chances they've got a gun and they can fight back. So that violent crime doesn't happen as much in those places as it does in places that have outlawed guns, because the criminal has a gun, because they're criminals, they don't care, and they know that law-abiding residents don't have guns. So that's why they get victimized. We will do away with our gun roster that's here in California. That's just a way for the state to stop new guns from being implemented and introduced into the state. The gun roster will be absolutely gone. The laws that they have made, SB 2, that's limited places where you can carry, you can't even go into public anymore, that will all be taken away. And here's the deal: they will repeal it. When I get there, the legislature, they have probably between 2,000 and 3,000 bills per year that they try and get introduced and passed into law. As the governor, I will not sign not one single piece of paper that they give me unless we take care of all these common sense things first. And for every common sense thing that you take care of, I'll allow one of your bills in for consideration. Not that I'm guaranteed to sign it, because I'm not going to sign anything that harms Californians. But we will repeal much of the legislation that's happened in the last 15, 20 years that is harming us.
That sounds radically amazing. Are you saying that Californians, obviously it depends what county you're in, but are going to potentially be able to get CCWs?
Absolutely.
Or be able to carry
and I'll
in
tell
some
you,
way?
so in this...
Does your county issue them? Just out of curiosity.
Yes. I'm probably... I am the most pro. There may be some equals. I don't want to. I have a lot of good friends that are sheriffs in this state that are very pro Second Amendment, and they issue permits. But
El Dorado is good.
There certainly is not going to be one more pro Second Amendment than I am. I am also one of the loudest in the state dealing with our government in combating this anti-firearm, anti-gun movement that they have going. So what people need to look at on every aspect of this election is, do you want to vote for somebody that's jumping up on their soapbox telling you that they're going to do something, or do you want to vote for somebody that's already proven they're going to do it? I'm going to be the only elected official, countywide elected official, 2 terms, that has done absolutely everything that I promised I was going to do. From making public safety better to streamlining government, cutting government costs, stopping government waste. All of those things I've done, and everyone here in Riverside County knows it. So do you want to take that background, or just any random person? If you vote for any Democrat, we're getting into aspect where you're just not thinking, because the Democrat agenda is what has brought us here today. And so the Republicans are going to come out and say all the same thing. They're all going to say the same thing I am. We all want to lower taxes. We all want to lower or eliminate regulations. We all want the cost of living to go down. We all want the cost of housing to go down. It's all of these things that we have to implement in our government. Get rid of government waste, all of those things. The Democrats are now changing, saying they want to do those things too, even though they're the ones that did it in the first place. But the rest of them have absolutely no experience. None of them on the Republican side, no one's been elected before. No one has run a $1 billion government budget effectively and correctly under budget. And no one has actually represented the people that are voting for them. And I have. So when I tell you that I'm going to do things, you don't have to just, well, do we believe him or not? It's like, man, everything that guy says he does, and there's proof of it. So with the CCW portion, when I took over as the sheriff of Riverside County, in the prior history of Riverside County, there were 3,100 permits issued, 3,100 permits. In my 6.5, I'm in my 7th year as sheriff right now, I've topped 60,000.
That's good to know.
So that is by far, like, it's probably double. It's a minimum of double the next closest county to me. And it could be triple and 10 times, 20 times more than some counties. And I know the importance of our Constitution, our constitutional rights, and the value of the Second Amendment. And I believe that law-abiding residents who are law-abiding, that are not prevented from carrying a gun to protect themselves or others, should be allowed to. And that's the position we take in Riverside County, and my residents enjoy that benefit.
I'm thankful to hear that. It's something that's very important to me. Since it's separate, because you laid out how the Second Amendment is actually referring to us being able to protect ourselves from a tyrannical government, which is clearly true. California, one of the things I've seen the Sacramento crazies go against is even our right to defend ourselves, considering things like we have an obligation to possibly flee or try some sort of aversion before defending ourselves in our own home, as an example. I don't remember the name of the bill or the number, but I'm curious if you would protect us beyond the obvious Second Amendment, clearly CCW, but are we going to have a right to defend ourselves? You're going to get rid of the roster. I think that's wonderful. Is there any chance we could see something like not being limited to 10 rounds in a magazine, just as off the top of my head, and things like that?
Yes, and that answer is yes all the way around. And then back to your other topic is that bill that would have taken away our ability to protect ourselves. I did a video about that bill, and that video, thankfully to all of you, went viral. And because of that, and my call to action at the end of that was, I need you and all of your friends to call your elected officials, and particularly this person, and demand that be removed. And within 2 days, that bill was removed from the floor in the assembly. And that's never happened before. That doesn't happen. They just let bills sit there. They put them in a suspense file or whatever the case may be. But they don't get actually removed from the government process, from that bill process. And this one did. And that's a testament of, am I going to stand up for you? Absolutely. I constantly stand up for our residents, and I'm not going to do anything that infringes on especially their public safety, their ability to protect themselves or protect somebody else. It doesn't even have to be them in their home. You could be protecting someone else from being murdered. And if you happen to have a weapon or fight back, this one didn't even have anything to do with a gun. This was saying that if someone approaches you and tries to rob you, assault you, whatever it was, your first reaction has to be to run away. You can't stay and confront that person. Because if you stayed and confront that person and say you punch them in the face and they fall down, hit their head, and they die, you are going to be charged with murder for something that they did. You were just protecting yourself. But that's what this bill was doing. And that's more along the lines of this government trying to make it so unsafe in our state that they can come in and have the state police take over. It just doesn't make sense. It goes against really life in general. Our God-given ability to protect ourselves, that wasn't something government gave you. That's absolute life. You can protect yourself when confronted, and you should be able to.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I'm really, really glad to hear that. I want to close by just giving you the floor. Anything you want to say to
Sure.
close us out? And I really, really appreciate you taking the time, man.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. There are so many things that are broken in California, and what what a lot of people are saying, and they're going to be listening here, that they're going to say, well, yeah, but how's he going to do it? And I'm going to make it very, very simple. How am I going to lower tax? This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to not only am I going to eliminate state income tax in this state. By the time I leave, after you elect me governor, it's going to be twice because you're going to like what I did the first term, and the second term I'm going to be elected also. By the end of that second term, there will no longer be a state income tax in California. There are 10 other states that don't have an income tax, and they're all doing fine. The greatest state in the country, we can do that too. There's no reason why we should be successful. The government should be successful on the backs of our residents. So state income tax eliminated. Gas tax will be eliminated. The fees eliminated. The regulations on fuel that are causing it to be so high eliminated on day one. The government regulations that are preventing us from building homes, that are preventing farms from growing, preventing building, and I'm talking about CEQA, I'm talking about California Coastal Commission, all of those things gone on day one. They are what are causing the cost of living, the cost of building a home, the cost of running your business. All of those things are being increased because of regulations and fees imposed by our government because they are money hungry so they can waste your money in pet projects. The pet projects, done. It's my budget. There will not be any pet projects funded. There will be the things that will be funded are government priorities. Public safety is number one. Public safety is police and fire. So everything that has to do with public safety, that's the number one role of government. We will make sure they are funded. Second is infrastructure. Infrastructure is our roads, our energy, our electricity, our gas, our natural gas, how we power our homes, how we heat our homes, all the roadways, the waterways that deliver water all throughout the state. That is our infrastructure. That's the government's role and responsibility, and California has completely failed. So our number one priority, public safety. Number two is infrastructure. Number three, my belief, or where I'm putting number three, is education. Our education system is completely out of whack and broken in California, and it will be absolutely overhauled. As I'm campaigning for this, not only are you going to vote for me for governor, you absolutely must vote for Sonia Shah as the superintendent of schools of California, because we are going to fix our school system together. So those are the three priorities. So I'm going to lower taxes. I'm going to lower regulation or eliminate regulation, going to lower the cost of living, going to fix our school system, going to fix our roadways. I'm going to build dams. On day one, we have a water emergency crisis in this state. We have more water than any place in the state. We have a water management problem and a water waste problem that we just let it all purposely go out to the ocean so we can continue to raise taxes and raise fees to get more money from people using the water. On day one, we will have a water state of emergency that I will sign that executive order, and I will call our president and say, President Trump, I need the Army Corps of Engineers here tomorrow because I need dams built. Not one, I need multiple dams built, and I need them built as quickly as possible. And on day two, I guarantee you he will have them here starting that process of building those dams. And we will fix our water storage problem immediately. How is he going to do that? That's the pessimist's view of everything. Is, yeah, he talks great, but how's he going to do it? It's not rocket science. It's actual getting down to business and just doing it. You have to have a fiscal mind to go in and make it happen. And most of the regulations, if not all of regulations, are not based in law. They can be written off with a stroke of a pen. An executive order takes them away. And the proof of that was after the fires, these catastrophic fires that were government caused in the Palisades, the governor signed away CEQA and Coastal Commission for just those houses. Well, if they know that that's the restriction in causing everything to be built, why are you and I, who didn't live in the Palisades, why isn't it removed for us?
I'm a contractor too, construction, so I'm loving this.
Yeah, absolutely. So those are gone. With a stroke of a pen, those are gone on day one. That's how easy these regulations are to remove because they weren't placed into law. There's no legal background to them other than we've given in to these government created commissions and regulatory boards who keep fining us and giving us fees and all of these things just for the government's unquenchable thirst for our money. So we have to do away with government waste, which that's easy. You appoint people that are fiscally conservative who are not going to allow that waste to happen as they're dispersing money. I'm controlling the budget, so I know where that money is going anyway. And then all the regulations are done away with. So what you have to realize is the difference between me and everyone else. And please do not think that I'm saying cops are better than anyone else. I'm saying that I have 32 years of on-the-job training of being a absolute successful problem solver. From the time I started in my job, I sat in a car, I answered someone's 911 call, I went to that location, I got minimal information to figure out what was going on, I solved that emergency no matter what it was, and then only solved it so I could move on to the next emergency. That's what every single call that we go to is someone's emergency. And we don't know how we're going to handle it until we get there. We gather all the information, we make good command decisions, and we fix it. If it doesn't fix right away, it's like, oh, that didn't work. I got to bend over here and fix it here. But in the end, that emergency was fixed, and now I can move on to the next emergency. As I progress through my career, promoting and even up into the sheriff now, my problems are just bigger. Emergencies are just bigger. They control or they affect bureaus, or they affect the entire county, not just one individual person. So COVID was a perfect example. For me, that was not a hard decision because it was just emergency management to me. I took in all the information that I could and then came to a logical conclusion, and it was not lockdowns. It was not masks. It was not closing churches and businesses and making one essential business good, but your business, I'm telling you, you're not essential. I mean, that made absolutely no sense. So I made that command decision to say, hey, this is wrong and we're not doing it. I'm fixing this problem for Riverside County. This emergency now for Riverside County is handled. And now you all can move on, but we're covered here. We're good. And that's what happened. That's how I got thrust onto the national stage. So I have a proven history of problem solving. I'm telling you, I'm doing this to save California, not only for me, but for my friends, for you, for your kids, for your grandkids, your future grandkids. That's who I'm doing this for, because my generation, our generation, has completely ruined California. There's no longer a California dream. And I don't want to just move away and go to a state that's better. I want to fix it before I go for my grandkids and make it to where they can stay here in California and have their California dream. And the only reason I'm doing it is because I know I can. It's going to take a problem solver that doesn't care about myself. I'm getting nothing out of this. I'm actually taking a huge pay cut to leave the most perfect job in the world as the sheriff of Riverside County. I'm taking a massive pay cut to be the governor of California. So this isn't about money. You can't bribe me with money. You can't make me happy with money. I'm doing it for the joy of California's, when it's all over, after my 8 years and my high five parties out the door, is the thank yous that people are going to say, man, you saved us. You made this state great again. The great California, the golden state, the California dream. That's what I want out of it. On my way out the door, high fives and a whole bunch of thank yous and your welcomes. That's what I want out of it.
Wow. Sheriff Chad Bianco, I hope you help make California gold again. And I really, really appreciate it, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.